You've entered your very first AKC agility trial. Congratulations! I am so excited for you. But now what? How do you get measured once you're there? What about walkthroughs and course maps? Well, you're at the perfect place. We are going to go over all of the things you need to know about your very first AKC agility trial in this video. Hi, my name is Kama. I'm one of the Club-Doggie trainers, and I'm a 5-time World Team Agility Handler with my agility dogs. But before I made the World Team, I had to compete in novice AKC agility just like you. So let's go ahead and go through the steps of what's going to make your novice agility trials more successful. The very first thing that you want to pay attention to for your novice AKC agility trial is actually your email. So you sent in that premium or that agility entry form to get into the agility trial. Your trial secretary is going to email you at minimum 2 times. One email will be a preliminary confirmation, and you want to make sure you read this to check for any errors. This could include your dog's registration number, your height class, the classes you've entered. Basically, read it from "Hi, so-and-so" to "Signed, your trial secretary," and make sure all the details are correct. After the trial's closing date, which remember is listed in the premium for the trial, you'll receive a final confirmation email from your trial secretary. Oftentimes, changes can still occur at this stage, but it does depend on your trial secretary. Again, make sure you read that email not only for errors in your entry, but also for any important information for the trial. For instance, are they going to have printed course maps and a physical gate sheet, or will they be doing digital? For more on that, keep watching this video. I'll explain what those differences are. Before we talk more about course maps and checking in at the gate, we need to talk about the very first thing you should do when you get to your first AKC agility trial. Get measured. Your measurement helps AKC determine if the height class you entered your dog in is actually the class they belong in. If you entered 24-inch regular or 20-inch preferred, you're the exception to that rule because you're choosing to compete in the highest height classes that AKC has to offer. But everyone else needs an official measurement from a verified measuring official, which are some AKC judges who have gone through extra certifications, in order for your height to be permanent and AKC to record your agility scores. Your trial secretary will have a form you need to fill out to provide to your verified measuring official, your VMO, at your agility trial. I know new forms can be confusing, so let's go ahead and take a look at the official measuring form together. This is the AKC official measuring form for agility trials. At the trial secretary will have some of these forms available to you as they are carbon copy forms, meaning the judge will keep one to provide to AKC and you'll keep one just in case you need to provide proof that your dog was measured. Now let's go ahead and look at the different parts of this form. You'll see that for dogs under 2 years old, your measurements are temporary. So you will have to get your dog measured again after 2 years old in order to have an official measurement. This is because many breeds do continue to grow in height or even sometimes depth beyond 2 years old. Your permanent height card, you'll see, requires 3 measurements after your dog is 2 years old. Challenge is if you believe that your dog was measured incorrectly and you would like to see if your dog can in fact measure into a different height class. New address is obviously just updating your form. Your dog's AKC name is that long fancy name on your AKC registration. Call name is what you would say in the ring just to call them quickly to you. Their AKC number is that number that you registered for or that your breeder provided to you when you got your puppy. Breed, birth date, and all of this is your information. If you have a co-owner, you would also want to make sure that this is listed on the form. And then, of course, sign your form. This section you don't touch. That is just for the judge and AKC. This would be for what we talked about earlier if your dog is in the 24-inch regular height class or the 20-inch preferred height class, because you're at the tallest height class possible for AKC. You would just check this box and you are good to go. And again, sign the bottom of that form and you're done. If your dog is uncomfortable with the measuring apparatus or other people, you can oftentimes use treats to help with the measurement process. But be mindful of the instructions that the judge gives you to assist with your measurement. They're going to want to make sure that your dog isn't crouching too low or standing too tall and giving you a false measurement. Now that you're done getting measured, let's talk about the next step you want to take at your AKC agility trial, and that's checking in. Checking in is what we refer to as a way of letting the ring crew know that you plan on competing in that run with your dog. There are two different ways you can check in, and it depends on what the trial is offering. Some trials offer digital check-in options with an app called Agility Gate. Agility Gate is free for you and can be downloaded for Android and Apple devices out of your app stores. If the club is using Agility Gate, you can get your course maps, check in, and let the club know if there's any conflicts with your run or anything else that would affect you being in the ring at the correct time. If your club is not using digital means for maps or check-in, there will be an easel or dry erase board or something similar near the entrance of the ring. You would simply go over to that board and put a literal check mark next to your dog's name. Your trial secretary will have let you know in one of their emails to you if the club is using Agility Gate for the trial. If they are, again, your course maps will be available in that app. If they are not, the club will let you know where course maps will be available during the general briefing. The general briefing is a gathering of all the club officials, the judge, and all the competitors that are there in time for the general briefing to let the competitors know any pertinent information for the trial. This can include things like where are the bathrooms and where are the course maps. You've made it to the trial. You've been measured. You checked in. You found your course maps. Now what? Well, walkthroughs. Walkthroughs are when the agility handlers are able to walk the course without their dogs to get an idea of the handling maneuvers they want to do as well as the spacing of the equipment. Walkthroughs occur after your course has been built. So if you look back at your agility premium or the confirmation emails from your trial secretary, one of the two will have a rough schedule for the day. Let's say at 11 a.m. they're planning on building, walking, and running novice jumpers. Well, around 11 a.m. is when you'd want to keep an eye on the ring to see if your course is being built. Mind you, some clubs will put in their premium or their confirmation emails that those times are an approximation, meaning they might go a little bit earlier, they might go a little bit later. So in general, a good rule of thumb is to be there earlier than you think you need to be so you don't miss your walkthrough. Most clubs provide 8 minutes for competitors to do a walkthrough. Again, the walkthrough is where you spend time in the ring walking your course without your dog. Following the 8 minutes, there's a required 5-minute break before the first dog is required to be at the ring to start running. This 5-minute rule is something AKC implemented to make sure that the first dog doesn't lose part of their walkthrough time being rushed to go warm them up or potty them before they have to be on the line. So 8 minutes to walk, 5-minute break, then the first dog needs to be ready to go. Again, those gate sheets that you checked in on, whether on the Agility Gate app or at the entrance to the ring, show you that running order. You also probably got a running order in one of the confirmation emails from your trial secretary. Or maybe your trial secretary said in the email that they're posting it to their website and provided a link. All of this information is available to you. If you're still confused, ask someone there. I promise you that even though, yes, we're all there planning on competing with our dogs, there's still a friendly face who's willing to help you out. You've finished your walkthrough and you're ready to compete. But before you step into that ring, let's make sure you know some ring etiquette. First up, leashes and collars. AKC does allow dogs to wear collars in the ring. However, the collars should not have anything dangling from them, so no ID tags, and they should not be able to self-tighten, so no martingales. Leashes should also be on your dog at all times unless you've been given permission once you've entered the ring to take them off. That means walking around the trial site and before exiting the ring. This is very important because even if you've had a perfect run, if you exit the ring before you've put the leash back on your dog, the judge is required per AKC rules to disqualify you from that run. You understand that collars may be worn or not, as long as they can't tighten or have dangly bits, and you understand that AKC requires leashes on our dogs at all times unless we're in the ring competing. Now we can talk about treats and toys and when they're allowed. Treats are only allowed outside the ring when you're in an agility competition. Bringing food inside the ring for AKC will mean an automatic disqualification, even if it's in your pockets. So make sure you check your pockets before entering the ring and either give those treats to your dog or set them on a table somewhere so that you're not disqualified after a perfect run. Toys cannot be brought in the ring except for FEO runs. 4 exhibition-only runs are allowed in 2 of the AKC classes, fast and time to beat. Having an FEO run means you're given a certain amount of time to train your dog in the ring in any way you like, as long as it's positive, using toys or praise. The only extra rule that AKC has to this is that the toy may not leave your hand. So if you're tugging with your dog and the dog is able to pull the toy out of your hand, even if you have time left to train in the ring per the FEO rules, the judge will whistle and you'll have to leave the ring at that time. Aside from FEO, the only training allowed in the ring is fix and continue. Fix and continue is an eliminating error, meaning if you choose to do this, you will be disqualified from your run. But it is an option many handlers choose as it allows them to make sure that they maintain criteria as they begin competing with their dog. Fix and continue is for situations in which your dog makes a fault and you would like to fix it before continuing your run, or they make an error that's not considered a fault, but it's an error in your training criteria, and again, you would like to fix it before continuing your run. So let's say, for example, that you have a stopped contact, but your dog doesn't stop. The judge isn't going to call a fault as long as your dog hits the yellow zone on the contact, but you may choose to tell the judge that you're going to fix and continue that, and repeat the contact so that your dog has to uphold their stopped contact criteria. The judge will eliminate you for choosing to do a fix and continue, but you are allowed to complete your run or exit the ring and give your dog cookies, whatever suits your training goals. Now that you understand some of the basic ring etiquette, let's go ahead and talk about what happens once you step to the line. It's your turn to go in. The gate steward has said your dog is on the line. You've entered the ring, you've taken your leash off, and you start running. But then the judge blows their whistle. Why? Well, the next thing that we should have waited for is the go. We now have electronic timing systems that are paired with a little speaker that the scribe and the judge use to let us know when they are ready for us to start our run. The scribe, the person sitting at the table, writing down the score that you get with your dog, has a button that will literally have that speaker say, go or ready, once the judge has signaled them that they're prepared to judge your run. So step to the line, take off that leash, but don't leave your dog on the start line, and definitely don't start running until you hear either go or ready from that speaker box. So what's a scribe? A scribe is a person that's sitting at a table along with a timer, another person who's making sure that your time for your course as well as any faults are written down on a scribe sheet. Now, I don't want to assume you're going to get faults, but since we all get them eventually, let's go ahead and look at what the different faults are as well as what the scribe sheets look like so that way you're prepared at your very first AKC agility event to look at your score following the completion of your run. First up, the hand signals. Your judge will hold up these various hand signals, but depending on what performance your dog has on the course. Obviously then, no hands raised is a good thing, but should you see this hand signal, it means your dog has refused an obstacle, which generally means they have gone around the obstacle that they should take. The other scenarios where you might see this would be them starting to go up the dog walk and coming off before they've hit that down plank. Same thing with getting on the teeter before it tips and getting off, or getting on the A-frame and getting off before they hit the apex. So essentially, anytime your dog does not begin the completion portion of the obstacle, or doesn't go to the obstacle at all, they bypass it, you'll get what's referred to as a refusal. This does ultimately lead to disqualifying if we accumulate too many of them. We can also be asked to move on in the weave pulls. We're only given 3 attempts to do our weave pulls with refusals before the judge will ask us to move on. A W is an open hand. That's a wrong course, meaning your dog took an obstacle they weren't supposed to take at the point in the sequence you were at. This is what you will see in a standard class where you have the contact obstacles, including the table. The table is literally what it sounds like. It's a table that the dog should remain on for a judge's count of 5, including the word go. Just like your start line and that electronic timer box. For the table, you don't want to leave until you hear the judge say go. An F, or 2 hands, is a failure to perform. This is when the dog improperly does the obstacle, such as bypassing and not going back to take the correct obstacle, missing the yellow zone on their contact, or dropping bars. Fixin' continuing, we talked about that earlier. That's when the handler is choosing to train. This handy little sheet even has the amount of time you're given in the classes should you choose to do a fix and continue. FEO, again, we talked about for exhibition only. That's when we're allowed to train in the ring for a designated amount of time in time to beat and fast. And a whistle. A whistle does not automatically mean you have to leave the ring. Most judges will whistle twice if you are needing to leave the ring. But a whistle does mean that you are disqualified for that run. Now that we understand some of our faults, let's go ahead and take a look at a scribe sheet. Scribe sheets are what the person who is sitting at that table as the scribe is writing on whenever the judge raises their hand. If the judge never raises their hands, they're still going to write the time that your dog was able to perform the course in on your sheet. This will be mostly filled out already by your trial secretary. They print them before the trial occurs. So novice A will be selected, your jump height will already be there, your dog number, breed, and so on. What the scribe is going to fill in is your dog's time, as well as any faults. The neat thing about AKC scribe sheets is they do show you what faults you can have in novice and still qualify. So you'll see here that you can have up to 2 refusals, 2 R's, that fist that a judge will hold up, and still qualify in AKC novice. However, if there's an F, an E, or a W on your sheet for jumpers with weaves, you will not qualify. Scores of 85 or higher are required to qualify in Novice A Jumpers with Weave agility classes at AKC. Well, but 2 runouts is 5 faults. That's 90. How could you possibly get 85 with time faults? AKC does allow for a little bit of extra time for the dogs who maybe had a couple zoomies but didn't take extra obstacles to still qualify in Novice A. Now, your novice standard classes are slightly different in the way that they are scored as far as what you can have in terms of faults and still qualify. You'll see that you can still have 2 refusals for novice and qualify, but you can also now have a W, a wrong course, or a table fault and still qualify. Again, on these scribe sheets that every AKC trial uses, it will show you your non-qualifying accumulated scores, such as 3 refusals, 2 wrong courses, 3 table faults, an F or an E. You'll see, though, that your score still must be 85 or higher. So even though AKC allows for these 5 different faults, because they're each 5 faulted points, you wouldn't be able to have more than 3 and still qualify. I've talked a lot about qualifying and scores, but remember, just getting to your very first agility trial is a huge accomplishment. And all of us have non-qualifying runs, even when we're still at the master's level. So don't let that get to you. Make sure you focus on the fact that you and your dog have made it all the way to competition level, and you will get those titles over time. Now, I don't want to discourage you and leave you thinking that you're not going to have those qualifying runs, because you will. So let's go ahead and talk about where to make sure you're checking your scores as well as keeping track of those scores. Trial secretaries will set up a designated area where they will provide a printout upon the completion of the class, letting you know the dog's placements, times, and of course, who qualified. Some trial secretaries will even print stickers that you can take with you to keep track of your scores at home. Make sure you're keeping a scorebook or Excel spreadsheet or something noting when your dog got those qualifiers, what club, what judge, all of the pertinent information that you saw on that score sheet or on that sticker. Because once you have 3 qualifying scores in the same class, so let's say 3 qualifying scores in jumpers with weaves, you earn a title. AKC will send you that title in the mail, but it may not come before your next trial. So you're allowed to move up to open, the next level after novice, even if you haven't received that certificate, as long as you've been keeping track of your scores and know that you have those 3 qualifying runs. Well, we covered a lot today, but let's face it, that very first trial is overwhelming. There's so much to take in. So save this video, watch it again, share it with your friends, and of course, let us know if you have any other questions. We're here for you, and we want you to be successful in dog agility.